Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Entrepreneurship to the Point, the platform that informs, equips, and inspires entrepreneurs from all walks of life. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you to everybody who's joining us on YouTube, whether it's live or whether you'll be experiencing this content later on. Welcome to our platform, and thank you for making the time to join us for this session all about taking off the mask. Today, we are talking about brand management and reputation management, and of course, how to make sure that those two elements lead to sales and lead to us growing our businesses as entrepreneurs. I'm going to introduce our guest to you shortly. I'm just going to give a quick minute for one or two more people to join us on the call, and we will continue. But while we're waiting for that to happen, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, a very, very warm welcome to you. We do encourage you after this session to go to ettp.co.za, register for our newsletter so that you don't miss any of the upcoming sessions. And of course, go onto our YouTube platform to make sure that you can catch up on anything that you have missed already. We've got a wide variety of content, all the way from cash flow management to content on property development, to mentorship. And if you're a woman-owned business, we've also got content that is specific to you. So do make sure that you explore our YouTube platform. Our co-partner in bringing this session to you tonight is Cedar. I think some of you will have noticed their branding on that opening slide. The Small Enterprise Development Agency. We would just like to say a special thank you and a warm welcome to any of you who have joined us via the Cedar community. We are always very excited to be in partnership with like-minded organizations who have it in their heart and in their bones to do whatever it takes to make sure that we are propelling entrepreneurs to the next level all of the time. So a big thank you to our partner Cedar, and a warm welcome to all of you who are joining us from the network of Cedar. So today, the topic is all around taking off the mask. And the reason why we have named it that way, obviously a little bit of a play on words, as we have all been going through COVID and lockdowns and having to wear masks everywhere we go. We looked at it and we thought to ourselves, I think it might be time to have conversations around, now that business is coming back, now that entrepreneurs have to be back out there in a very different way, but back out there nonetheless. What is it that we have to be thinking about from a brand perspective and from a reputation perspective to make sure that when SMMEs are getting back into the game, they are well equipped to take off the mask, to let people know exactly who they are, exactly what it is that they can deliver, and exactly why they are the ones that should be the service provider of choice for those services. So today, our guest is Miss Nomathemba Malinga. Noma, you can switch on your camera so that everybody can see you. Nomathemba has over 17 years of experience in the world of branding, marketing, and communications. She has worked with a host of clients, including us as Property Point. And one thing for sure is when Gravitas is in the house and when Noma and her team start working with you, the difference is palpable. The change is definitely very, very apparent. And I mean, earlier on today, we were just having a conversation around really the impact that partnering with Gravitas has had on us. So Nomathemba is the co-founder and director of Gravitas, which is a strategic communications agency, that she'll tell you a little bit more about that in her introduction. And she's going to be taking us through those elements that I've mentioned. So we're going to be looking at branding, we're going to be looking at reputation, and we're going to be looking at how that then feeds into the funnel to make sure that we are closing those deals and making those sales. So welcome to you, Nomathemba. You can just give a quick intro about who you are and a little bit about Gravitas, and then I'm going to take them through our introductory story and hand back over to you for the session.
Oh, Okay, fantastic. Oh, I'm always very encouraged when people invest in their businesses. So I appreciate those who took the time to learn today because as an entrepreneur myself, I understand how it's important to take the time to work in your business and grow it. And this is the time post-COVID where it really requires you to reinvest in yourself as an individual in the business. So well done for making the time. So besides that, my name is Noma Themba Tobani Malenga. I'm a broadcaster by training. I'm a reputation strategist by practice, but I'm a teacher by passion. I must say I always enjoy the teaching, and today I'd like to pour into your cup in terms of the teachings that we learn together, because I'm also on the same journey as you are. Gravitas Communications, as Debo has said, is a 360-degree strategic communications agency. In simple terms, what we do is we protect corporate reputations and help them to show up in an authentic manner, and that they have gravitas, credibility, and build trust with their stakeholders using the very nuanced tactics of communications and what many people consider to be PR. But for today's session, I want to go back to basics, right? No big jargon, no big affluent words. I want us to get to the simplistic way and practicalities of building a brand and building trust, so that you may then use that as your foundation to go forward and grow and accelerate in your business. So no big complicated terms today. We're going back to basics and just teaching you and sharing how to do it in the most simplistic way. All right.
Thank you so much, Noma. Yeah, we're going back to basics. And I think I'm really looking forward to this. When we were talking earlier on some of the insights that we were going through, even for me as a practitioner in communications and brand and marketing, it was really just refreshing to just take a step back and actually remember what this is all about and how we can achieve this, especially as small businesses. I'd like to just remind everybody and encourage you to please send through your questions in the chat. This session is for you. If you want to, if anytime during the session you have a question, put it through into the chat and I will make sure between Noma and I that we can answer those. Okay, so before we get into it, I'm going to take you through a little bit of a story or a journey, just to give a little bit of context as to what we are going to be talking about today. So you can close your eyes if you want to, or you can keep them open, but just imagine this. You are at your home office. It is a Wednesday morning around 9:30 or so, and you are sitting in front of your computer. You have your cup of coffee in front of you, your shirt on and your pajama pants on and your slippers on, and you're about to get the morning going. Your coffee's been on your desk for a little while, so you think it might be a little bit of time to maybe pop it in the microwave and warm it up. So you get up from your desk, you slide your slippers back on, and just as you reverse your chair back to get up and go to the kitchen and heat up your coffee, your phone rings. It's a private number. So you look at it, you think about not picking it up, but you're like, I actually just submitted a proposal to a particular organization that I really want to work with. So maybe let me answer it, even though answering private numbers is not my favorite thing to do. You pick up the phone, you say hello, and on the other side of the line, you hear a mature voice. It's a lady, and they say, "Hi, my name is Noma. How about we meet over coffee for that conversation?" And that's all they say. "Hi, my name is Noma. How about we meet over coffee for that conversation?" Okay, now let's go back to the beginning of that story. I'm going to tell it again, and it's going to have a slightly different ending. You're at your desk. It's about 9:30 in the morning. You've just opened your laptop, working from home. So shirts at the top, pajamas at the bottom. You want to go and heat up your coffee because it's been there for a little while. As you stand up, your phone starts vibrating and you look at it. It's a private number. You wonder whether or not you should pick it up, and you decide to do so because there's something that you have submitted and you're waiting for feedback. You pick up the phone and the voice comes through on the other side, a mature voice. It's a lady, and they say, "Hi, my name is Noma. I'm calling you regarding the proposal that you submitted last week. I'm from Company X, and we'd really like to talk to you about some of the details of that proposal. Do you have time for a coffee next week so we can discuss it? Okay, so I've given you two scenarios, right? Both of them, there is a moment where there is a call from a complete stranger or what seems to be a complete stranger, but the difference is the amount of detail that each person put into the conversation when they first spoke to you. You don't have to answer out loud, and because we are not in person, we wouldn't really hear you, but I'm sure you can answer to yourself. Which of those two calls would you be more likely to actually put on proper pants and go out and have a cup of coffee with, right? Which of those two calls would you be more likely to speak highly of, or at least at a neutral, non-annoyed level of, when relaying the story to somebody else? Would it be the person who just said, "Hi, I'm Noma, let's have a coffee about that thing you spoke about," and the phone cut? Or would it be the person who gave you a little bit more detail and context about why they are calling, why it's relevant for you to listen to them, and why you should leave your very comfortable home office to go and have a cup of coffee with them? So that is what we are going to be talking about today. It is the power of simply introducing yourself and then asking somebody to give you something, whether it's their business, their attention, an opportunity at something to do, versus what happens when you actually give a little bit of your story, explain a little bit about why it's valuable to work with you and who you are, and then going in and saying, could you possibly lend me your time, your money, your attention, or whatever it is? Okay, so I hope that gave a little bit of context into the different things that we're going to be talking about today, and really just trying to get you to understand it's all about building that relationship, building that trust before we go in to close any deals. Noma, over to you.
Thank you. Give me a moment. I prepared something for you. Okay. All right. So these are really the realities of doing business. And what we're talking about with Tebogo today, we were saying that, because branding and communications are so intangible, we sometimes make the fault of not paying much need for it or attention to it, and try and run straight to the sales. However, before someone buys into you, they need to really evaluate you, your gravitas, your credibility. And the truth of the matter is that people buy from those they know, they like, and they trust. And that is just the basic human nature. When you look at something in two leaflets and two companies to fix your lights in the house, you look at them and how they show up to your house, or how they show up in a brochure or in a marketing collateral. And you probably choose the one that looks the most compelling, and the one that probably endears trust, even if you haven't met them on a face-to-face interaction. So just remember that people really buy from people they know, they like, and they trust before you can even convert a sale. So I wanted to leave you with that. So if you forget anything else I say today, just remember that one statement. One of the challenges then that we always go to when I have a client that comes and sits with me, and they always confuse the two terms between brand and reputation. And this is really a simple way for you to remember it. Like Tebogo, I'm going to tell a very compelling story. A brand is what you say you and how you behave, while reputation is what others say about you. For an instance, if I'm going on a date with a new guy, I show up and I sit across the table and I say, hello, my name is Noma Temba. I'm a runner, I'm a communicator, and I'm a very confident human being, right? And this is how I represent myself. And this is how I've defined myself and my personality. And this is me directly speaking into my brand and who I am. So when the date is over and the guy leaves and he goes, tells his family or he tells his friend, he's going to say, I met this wonderful woman. Her name is Noma Temba. I really think she's a really great person. And right there, that is reputation. Reputation is what people say about you when you're not in the room to represent yourself. So that is about the trust, the credibility, and the gravitas that you lead. So both of these concepts are mutually complementary, as the one is direct speech and the other is indirect speech. So as a brand, that is very important to say, because reputation is that pinnacle that you reach when people refer you for business. When I say Tebogo has a cleaning company, she's done a really great job at my office, I would give her a call and I'm sure she'll give you a good price and quality work. That's reputation. It's because you've said that what you can do, and then you fulfilled your promise. Because you fulfilled your promise, you've then endeared trust, and trust then builds to credibility. So I hope those two concepts are really something that's very complementary. And in the bigger scale of things and in thinking about it methodically, before you can get to a sales conversion, you need to show up, you need to build trust, and then the money comes, and then you can invoice and have someone trust to procure your services. So it's not really about the sales, but you need to endear the confidence that you are able to fulfill the promise that you've said and how you show up. So I hope that makes a bit more sense, and I've really brought it to life for you of why branding and reputation matter in a very simplistic way. And one thing practically that we've realized is that over the COVID-19 period, there's companies who had a really great reputation. And because reputation is something that's very malleable, some of the brand equity and reputation has suffered a little bit because some companies couldn't fulfill their promises or the services that they could because of COVID-19 restrictions. So perhaps it's this moment that you could take a step back and breathe and then evaluate for yourself. How do you then rebuild confidence back into the marketplace? Because maybe it happens in business. I'm an entrepreneur. Even when you have the best of intentions, there's moments where circumstances happen and then you aren't able to meet the service to the quality that you haven't, that you had set the intention to do. So this is a great time for you to reevaluate yourself and say, what is my why? How do I want to show up? Is my positioning correct in the marketplace? Or perhaps this is a time for you to change and say, I wasn't showing up correctly. I didn't have a digital presence. And this is time for you to rebuild, and it's an opportunity. Don't waste a good crisis. Crisis is one of the most amazing things in life, that it allows you to destroy the old and then reevaluate your why of why you're in business and how you then want to show up in the marketplace. So I hope that makes a bit of sense. But pop me questions in the box, and I promise you I will address them as I'm speaking. I want us to have a conversation today. As I said, simpler the better. So as I'm a very structured thinker, and as I said, the biggest question you get from entrepreneurs is, when do I convert the sale? If I sign up and I get a radio interview, is that gonna result in sales? And my answer is always no. That's not gonna get you the sale necessarily. The practice of sale is really a marketing function where you put yourself out there, but then you need to really be clear of how you want to show up, and then have the credibility for someone to make that conversion of the sale. So this funnel is what Tebogo was introducing earlier and saying, before you get to the purchase decision, you need to build an awareness of your services and your organization. And then you need to build the interest. That's the marketing, where you proactively go out there and market yourself. I'll share shortly some of the tactics of how you build the interest. You then give your customers and your stakeholders some time to consider what you've provided for them. The best tactic when you're going with this is that you must be a problem solver. You really research your client and say, I've been walking around your building. I saw some cracks, and these are the following implications. I have a solution for you to solve this kind of problem. So when you approach them, you're already looking like you are building a relationship and you're a problem solver. So you give them an opportunity to consider what your service offering is. And in that, you're building reputation in a good relationship, which results in trust again. That also trickles down into intent. Your intent is why are you in business? Some people have a very philanthropic reasons why they even have certain services. Some of them are to be an assistance to their community, or that's how they want to show up. Others just want to make money and want to be rich, and that is their why. But then that will then determine how they then position themselves and how they boldly go out to market and market themselves. And then when you are clear on those four tiers, that is when then the customer evaluates you, and then you can then convert them into a purchase, which then you can invoice at the end of the day. So I will pause there for 2 seconds, but then I just want you to understand that there is a process between branding, positioning yourself, and how then that results then into a purchase sales decision. Yeah, Tebogo, do you have anything to add to that?
No, not yet. I mean, I think we just have a comment from Trifina just saying that, now she can understand that there is a clear difference between brand and reputation, and we can add then sale at the end of that line. But I think that what's important and what we did speak about, Noma, is just to say very often we might overlook public relations, marketing, communications. I think for some time, these elements developed a bit of a bad reputation, ironically enough. But at the end of the day, you cannot skip steps. It's not sustainable for you to just go in for the jugular every time, all the time, and not build that rapport and not give your customers that opportunity to feel like they can trust you and connect with you and do business with you. So yeah, I think if there's no questions from the chat, I'm going to let you go ahead. I know that you're about to get into some details of the how and a little bit of implementation. So take it away.
Okay, fantastic. I'm glad that you understand the process, and thank you for the lovely comment. So this is the how, right? And for you to understand the branding. So your branding for me is as simple as deciding as a woman what is my favorite color. As I was planning for this session today, I had to decide what kind of color lipstick do I want, right? So that's my brand personality, how I want to show up for you to this webinar. And I'm wearing a purple lipstick for a reason. Purple is psychologically known to be a color of confidence, to endear confidence. So my purpose for wearing a purple and red lipstick for you is for you to really trust me and the credibility of the knowledge that I'm imparting to you. So exactly in the same concept, when you choose your logo, when you choose your brand and company colors, do a little bit of a research. Look at the colors that resonate with your why and how you want to show up to your customers. Like a blue and a green are known for being calm and clean and health. If you are a cleaning company, probably those are the colors that you would choose for your brand. But if you are in food, maybe a yellow and a red, like a McDonald's red, it makes people a bit hungry and excited. Those are like the psychological feelings of certain colors. Like a brown and beige are known to be colors for people who are trustworthy and people that have been around for a long time. And beige is very easy on the eye and something that's very calming in that way. So those are the things that you must really think about very deeply in your organization, because those are the things that psychologically will endear confidence when you're not in the room, those are the things and the little nuances that will speak for you when you're not in the room. And then finally, your brand personality. What's your tone? So when you're writing your communications on your website or on your company profile, what tone are you using? Are you using a calm tone? If you want to be a bit more exciting, you're a bit more colloquial. If you are something serious and legal, maybe you are an architect and a legal firm, perhaps you want the Queen's English a bit more, so that you to invoke certain emotions and endear a certain personality. So those are the things that are very nuanced, but when you are rebuilding your brand, please be careful and be clear about how you want to show up. The same way you choose your lipstick, the same way you choose your shirt in the morning, the same way you choose your shoes, you must be clear how you choose to show up, or how your company shows up to its clients and its stakeholders. And then where the beauty really merges is then you then take yourself to market. So that's when you're marketing. You take yourself to market. That's when you then do your sales calls, when you are direct, where you put out adverts if you can, you do promotions, where you do your activations that will then result into conversions and sales. So I hope that you are clear. So this is how I show up, how I paint the picture, how I create the personality. And when I've got this human or this company, I then take it to market and say, this is what I have. This is what my company is, this is the problem my company is solving for you. And then you convert that into a sale. But you can't also expect to have a website and you're sitting and you don't convert and take yourself to market. You must remember your website and all your social media platforms are there to create a brand presence, and they're not necessarily there to drive the sales. You've got to have a marketing plan that goes to market, and you directly engage your stakeholders and your clients and make them believe in what you're selling. So that is the most simplistic way I can put this. And then I want to underline this, and I have my business partner's words in my ear, Lance, when he always says your email address. Just really register a domain name. Sibusiso123 is not a credible email address and name of a company. I'm not sure that's how you want to show up. Choose a name that resonates with your why you have a company. Just those small nuances are important. You can't be invoicing 1 million, 2 million rand for a company that's got a Gmail address. So just really, really take a step back and really think about how you want to show up and how that builds your credibility at the end of the day. So that is what I want to leave with you on the slide. Then finally, practical steps. I didn't want to give you something too cumbersome. And this is Teacher Noma giving you 6 tips, and this is your homework. So number 1, your look and feel, your personality. How do you want to show up? Are you happy with the colors? Are you happy with the name? Are you happy with the email address? Are you happy with your letterhead, your business card, your social media presence? Make sure you've got those and they are sharp and they endear confidence, they're crisp and they look good. And then you can then really pitch yourself at a top bar. Because if I'm looking at something that a document that doesn't have line spacing and your fonts are off and you haven't invested in yourself. And how do you expect someone to invest in you when you haven't invested in yourself? And I think that is an important message. Invest in yourself so that it endears confidence for someone to invest back into you. So that's number 1, that's your homework. So number 2, your digital presence. I think COVID-19 has really shown us that face-to-face interaction is a little difficult to see some people face-to-face, but also you really need to get your company to walk before you even get to open the door. Let me say that's more accurate, to open the door. So your digital presence is very important. Make sure you have a website. Make sure you've got a LinkedIn page that really tells us about who you are and endears confidence. And then number 3, have a profile. Have a profile that really tells your story. If you are building buildings and in construction, take pictures. People must see the work of your hands. People see pictures, believe pictures more than they believe words, right? So a good profile can speak for you even when you're not in the room. That sounds like an advert. I don't know why, but really, it speaks for you when you're not in the room. Okay, I think I remember a commercial like that. Then number 4, tell your stories, have case studies. I think every client that we deliver for has its own unique story and its own challenge. Say what the concept was, what the challenge was, how you overcame the challenge, and what the final results are. I think that really also shows that you are a strategic thinker, you're a problem solver, that even if a client gives you a unique challenge that you haven't been exposed to, but you have a thinking process to unlock and problem solve. So you must show that you have a method to the madness that we do. Because some of the things that we do is a little bit of madness, but I think endearing confidence is that there is a method to how you got to the end point. And I think for me, I think that always endears confidence when I know that might be a new challenge, but they are a strategic thinker and they will get to the problem, the solution sooner than later. Then number 5, your brand promise. What's your brand promise? I was saying to Tebogo earlier that a Sorbet, where I do my nails, their brand promise is that if you're not happy with your nails, if you're not happy with your service, you can come back for a full refund and they'll redo your nails or they can give you your money back. What's your brand promise? It can be as easy as if I was painting a room and you're not happy with the paint, I can give you money back or I can repaint your room, but you must have something that is a brand promise that shows that you have confidence in your own quality of output. So that is your brand promise at the end of the day. Then finally, it's something that's very technical in my industry. It's called a VVBP, but it's your value-based proposition. Your value-based proposition is your why. What's something unique about your organization? If you are a construction company, there's dime in the dozen. What do you do differently? What's your why? Why should someone give you the contract and have real confidence in what you do, right? So that's your value-based proposition, and that's really your purpose. And at the end of the day, and I know as cliche it said, you must live your purpose and fulfill your promises for you to actually have income. Those are the companies that live longer and have longevity, is because their why is strong and it evolves. And it's not just something that's simplistic as paying the bills at the end of the day. So I'm going to take a breath there for 2 seconds, and Deborah will let me know if there's any interesting questions and comments before I move on.
Thanks, Noma. I think, even earlier on, we were speaking about, you've kind of given us a bigger picture of the differences between brand, reputation, and now you've taken us through how somebody can go about implementing. But sometimes the challenge is deciding on how you want to show up, right? We know that a lot of small businesses, especially at the beginning, maybe you are delivering offerings and, you thought that this one would be kind of the key and your flagship offering. Turns out your clients resonate more with something else that you give. There's a lot of learning and trial and error in those beginning stages of a business. And I mean, we have been around as Property Point for a very long time. The conversation about branding and positioning and how you are showing up is coming up for us again now, simply because now we are moving on to a different level of what we are doing. So again, we have to kind of go back to the drawing board and decide how we want to show up. So, I mean, how would you advise a business owner to think about deciding on the color, deciding on what they want to put first or second when on their profile, and deciding on that? How is it that we want to show up when perhaps you've got multiple offerings or multiple passions?
Wow, that's a deep question. It's very, and it's got a lot. But I think the best place to always start is your why. Is your why. It's your purpose for being in business. I think we all have a purpose for being in business, and that's the unique value-based proposition. If your why is to signal the market and innovate a certain technology or innovate a certain way of thinking, a certain service, you then decide, who am I in the life of my client? How do I want to show up in their life? Where do I resonate with them? What's my sweet spot? And when you find that sweet spot and you say, I'm a helper, okay? And you say, I want to be your counselor, I want to be your advisor. That's your sweet spot. You then, everything then comes down to that. And you say, if I want to be your counselor, if I want to be your helper, what are the colors that resonate with being a helper? Perhaps that maybe a green, a yellow, a blue shows that I'm a helper, and it endears a psychological effect. You can then Google these things, are available online, and you can read about, if I want to show up as a hero,
what does that look like?
How does a hero show up, right? And how does a hero talk? What kind of tonality does a hero show up as? Are they bold? Are they colloquial? Are they big English? Perhaps they also show up in Tsotsitaal, depending on your target audience. But you must ask yourself those questions, but everything comes back to your why I'm in business and how I want to show up and the role I want to play in the lives of my clients.
Yeah.
So
100%.
I think for me, that is the thinking process you really got to go through.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, thinking about what is it that I want to be for my client, because also when they then see that communication on your website or on any kind of poster, you are answering their question. If they're Googling and looking for a counselor and your communication says, I am a counselor in some kind of way, immediately that person understands that, oh, okay, maybe I should read a little bit more or understand, or maybe make that call to this particular person. I just want to plug in there as well. In March, we had a session with Joey Kuvutlu from Hello Computer, and we actually went through a whole lot of resources about how to get to know your customer. And I think to Noma's point around, the only way you're going to understand who you are in their life is knowing them, getting to know them. You can do that via Google or research, but there's also a great amount of free tools that you can use online to send out surveys, to do polls on social media. So after this, I would encourage everybody, or maybe somebody from our team can just grab that link and share it in the chat, to go and check out that session as well, where we literally just went through all of the various tools that are accessible to us, most of them free or at a really, really good rate, so that you can begin to understand your customer. I see there's a question in the Q&A session, in the Q&A box. Kucho is saying, I'm interested to learn more about the do not of building a brand, what not to do, specifically for female entrepreneurs. And you can also take from your own experience, what are the key insights taking in consideration the cultural and societal norms. Okay, so that is a question from Kujo. Noma, do you want to tackle it?
Let me tackle it this way. And I show up very bold, and I'm very bold in the answers that is here. So let me know. I am not one to come and say, do not be something that you are not. I am one to boldly say, show up as who you are, and your why is authentic and resonates with who you are. If that is authentic and true to you, that is how you choose to show up. I'm not one for don't. I think when you make a mistake is when you try and be something that is not authentic, or you're trying to be a copycat. So maybe the don't is, don't copy what your neighbor's doing, right? Just be clear and have a linear thinking process about who am I? How do I want to show up? And how does that evolve into my business? So that is my first response to that. And again, I said I'm very bold in how I do things, and that's how I show up personally. And I don't like speaking in negative first person. I really want to be first person present and lean into your business in being your truth, and not living in the I don't want to be, because then you tend to then show up in a very confused manner. So that is my first advice. Be authentic and show up as yourself, and then define how that roadmap looks like in leaning into your business and moving forward in it. And then number two, as a female, specifically female entrepreneurs that can take your own experiences. Again, I'll apologize first before I say, I don't necessarily see myself as a female entrepreneur. I see myself as an entrepreneur underline, right? There's certain advantages of being a woman and being female, but I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a businesswoman first, and that's how I show up. And there's feminine attributes that I use to bring my business to life, and I acknowledge those, my femininity to build my business. But that still means I'm a businesswoman first, and I don't think there's separate rules for women and men necessarily. What I would encourage is for you to then use your feminine and female attributes and not try and emulate the masculine attribute and be like a man. I'd still be the best woman I am as an entrepreneur, but then I wouldn't have separate rules. I'll just play up my femininity. I'll play up the great attributes I have as a woman, but no rules for the different genders. I would. I really would really play that those. And then cultural considerations and cultural norms. Well, I must say, as a reputation and relationship person, you must know your clients, right? So I'm Zulu and I'm from Ladysmith. And I know that I show up a little bit differently when I'm in the rurals, right, as a person. So if that's your target market, where you must know your market, and perhaps I wouldn't, you speak to your audience. You rather speak to your audience in a way that doesn't offend them, in a way that resonates with them. That's not necessarily changing yourself, but then it's about knowing your customer and playing to your customer for things that resonate with them. Because all services and products that we are providing are to solve a certain challenge and solve a problem for your client. So it would be me customizing my service or my marketing or my communication style to resonate with the cultural nuance of that particular place. So I think as people, we show up differently in different places. I mean, when you're with your family in Johannesburg, or when I'm in KZN, or I'm in Orlando, in the township, I probably show up as 3 different Nomatembas, but I'm still, the essence and core of who I am is fine. It's just that I am communicating in a way that resonates with my cultural context. So I think when you do communicate and market for that particular audience, the cultural nuance is important, but just really just tweak it for relevance, but don't tweak who you are and how you show up. You tweak your communication style to resonate with them. Yeah, and So I think that's my advice to Kudro. I think you must be. We are we are entrepreneurs because we are bold and believe in what we have to offer and share with the world.
Yeah, thanks for that, Noma. I think that was such a great way to approach those questions. And I think also when it comes to branding and reputation in this day and age, you can put up a flyer that says Nomathemba Malinga only speaks English, but they'll find you speaking isiZulu on Instagram. or they'll find you making a noise somewhere, in your language. So I think it's so important to be authentic, because that is actually more dangerous than trying to put on a persona that you might think will be received better. It's much more difficult to repair that break in the trust, in that you said you were something and then you're not, because now everything about your brand and your organization will come into question, unlike being who you are and kind of letting even that be the filter, because at the end of the day, there are billions of people on this planet, and somewhere you will find the market that is for you. It's not always that you will be able to serve everyone, and I think that's a good thing, because that means that there's always room actually for everyone to come in. So there is no such thing as I can't, there's always a way that your unique essence will be able to serve that very particular market. Thank you so much for that answer. I'm just checking if there is anything else. Do you want to maybe
Desigan, I see Desigan is asking
yeah.
What is a good reputation tool for small businesses? All right. Well, Desigan, maybe let me take 2 steps back and share with you this final slide I have, right? Back to basics of how you rebuild and improve your reputation and gain trust. So tools would assume that I need an external party to come and clean up my reputation. And for me, reputation is really underlined by relationship, right? The essence of a good reputation is trust and converting people to be an advocate. So I really believe the best tool for me is really improving your communication style. Right? There's one of the really great things why I love the cohort at Property Point is that you look at the entrepreneur as a full human being. And one of the key programs that I've seen at Property Point is that you really take time for people to self-actualize and realize their own communication style. And so if you're clear about who you are, your why and your communication style, you're able to endear confidence and show up authentically and then build good relationships. I believe that's the best way. So for me, my underline is the best way to really build a good reputation is keep your promise. Say and do what you promise to do on time, meeting the client's requirements and at the high quality. That for me, I don't see another tool or another way of building trust and endearing trust in somebody. And once you've done that, that's when I can then say, Tebucho, she's great. Yes, you're gonna use her. Like I put my line on it. Even with jobs, let's say employment, people ask for referrals all the time, and they're like, I'm looking for a director. Do you know somebody who'd be best suited for this position? Excuse me. You really need to, referring somebody, you almost put yourself in line, right? So if I've referred Tebogo for a job and she does a really bad job, it's a bad reflection on myself that I would really refer somebody of such bad quality to you. So I need to make sure that when I refer Tebogo for a job, I'm sure that she's going to deliver in the way she promised, in the quality she promised, on time. And then, for me, that there isn't anything better than that. Then you have external advocates. For me, a strong reputation is about endearing that trust because you fulfilled your why and you fulfilled your brand promise, right?
Just to jump on that, Norma, I think, whenever we're speaking about relationship and reputation, we sometimes forget to talk about the time factor because it takes time. It won't be on the first engagement. Of course, that first engagement is super important because you don't want to have to work yourself up from a very bad first impression, right? You want the first one to set the tone. However, if the first time people are going to see you is on the launch of a campaign, a social media, something, make it the absolute best so that you don't have to recover. But at the same time, you have to understand that it cannot just be that once-off affair or meeting or coffee, and then wither away. Now, then the work starts to kind of maintain that so that a person can really and truly vouch for you and what you can do.
Yeah. So, but also let me endear some confidence, because mistakes happen. People, first impressions, sometimes you had a really bad first impression. It's okay to admit your faults and your gaps, and then show how you plan to plug them. I trust somebody who has a self-awareness of their faults and is able to then plug and clean them, because building a strong reputation doesn't mean you're faultless. It means that you have an ability to see your faults, and then also then closing the gap. So people think that you have to be perfect. There's no such thing, but being able to recognize it and go to the client and say, you know what, that job wasn't good. Let me fix it for you. And then that's a learning process for you, right? So people think first impression, I'm over, I'm not going back there. It's okay to say, first impression, sorry, Deborah, I didn't show up the way I would have wished. This is where I see my faults are. Can you give me an opportunity to correct it? So that also endears trust, because you are willing to correct your mistakes. So I think that people must also understand that there's no such thing as perfection and being perfect all the time. Yeah.
I think that actually, that's such a good point. It showed itself a lot during COVID time, because, for example, I remember being on a lot of calls and meetings where, a person's child would run past, dog would bark or whatever. And there was a lot of, oh, sorry guys, this, sorry guys, my that. But then it got to a point where, yes, it's my dog that just licked my camera or something. And so I think that that authenticity that came through in terms of the walls breaking down a little bit, where even if you are speaking to somebody who is your consultant or your service provider, people became much more open to the realities of humanity and of our human condition. And I think that's actually great, because that also offers us an opportunity to connect and be like, there was a time when I also didn't show up great, and I'm glad that you came back, and we can actually now be real, and the honesty can flow 100%. I think you can go ahead, Noma, and just maybe take us through the next slides that you have.
So these are my parting shots on building your reputation. So again, I said I'm going to be simple today, nothing too hectic. So these are the three key messages I'm leaving with. Make the customer feel important. They'll come back and refer others to you. Make the customer feel and think that you are giving them your 100%. We know that you're competing with many things. However, give them the valuable time and attention they need and they require, and that will endear confidence and trust. I think we've all got examples where you feel like a service provider is multitasking you and you're not their number one priority. You then think, I think I'm going to go to someone else who can give me the attention I deserve. So we're all juggling, but make your customer feel important, and they'll come back and you will have a really great relationship with them. So that's my number one that I want to leave you with. Number two, know your craft. We debated about this with Deborah today. Just really know your craft. Even if it's a new business that you're getting into and something that perhaps you are not a subject matter expert in, just really research and know what you're doing. You can't sell something to somebody and you're not an expert in it. If you're not an expert painter, and you're going to give your client a low quality grade of a job, rather outsource it or be honest with your client that I'm still learning or something, but know your craft. Be sure that what you're selling, the service, you are the absolute best at it, and really, really sharpen your pencils when it comes to your craft. You must be an expert at what you do. That's your VVBP. That's your value-based proposition. Be an expert in that. And then give your customers confidence that you will deliver on that promise and that you have value for money. It's very easy to be like, I have an electrician, he knows and almost said in Zulu, I'm like, what's in Dambo? As my grandmother would say, you know, they know how to put some things together and they can fit your lights. Yeah, no, that does not endear confidence or like that service is not a value for money. So again, underline, know your craft, be an expert in it. And if it's challenging you, be honest and get an expert to help you on the job and save the day. Because some days you do need to call a backup to save the day, but don't just give a shoddy job, because that will impact your reputation and destroy the relationship and trust going forward, right? So that's number 2 I want to leave you with. Then number 3, anticipate your customer's need by understanding their pressure points. Think ahead and offer advice and solution. Be a pro at problem solving. They'll keep coming back. And this is what I was talking about, being a critical thinker as a person, being able to anticipate a challenge, being able to anticipate and being like, if X happens, Y could be the solution, or if Y happens, then this is the scenario, I can fix it. Show that you understand your customer, their industry, and anticipate what a better innovative solution could be. Because sometimes your client may also be challenged and it's blank. They're frustrated, but be that problem solver, be that counselor to your client, be that partner to them in their business so that you are relevant in their journey of where they are. So that is number 3. And all of these things really endear a good partnership, they endear trust, and then your client becomes your biggest advocate and refers your business, which converts into sales and rands, which is the ultimate goal. So yeah, so I want to leave you with that. And I think really we didn't want to make this very cumbersome for you. It's really practical of things to do. So show up, how you look, your logo, your digital presence, that's how you show up. Have a profile, then take it to market through your marketing and sales channel, and then fulfill your promise and build good relationships. And all of this should make sure that you have a good grounding for a good business going forward. So that's me, Debucho.
Thank you, Norma. Great. That was awesome. I think to go back to that last point, it makes so much sense that if you know your craft, then you will be able to anticipate those challenges, because you know it so well that you know exactly what could or could not happen. You can preempt those risk factors, and so that really enables you to be of serious value to your client. Thank you so much. And remember to smile, says Tebogo. Of course, cadence, it's about how you say something, not what you say sometimes, right? And it definitely helps to have a welcoming or approachable vibe to you. But of course, as an entrepreneur, I think you will know better when to play what. But thank you so much.
If you're authentic,
as long as you're real,
show up as you are. If you're not a smiley person, that's okay. Don't force something that you're not. Show up as you are.
100%. I just want to read a comment from Luanda. Great presentation. Branding is everything. We're in the process of rebranding our logo, colors, etc. We managed to build trust and relationships over the years with our key clients, but just need to pay attention to our looks. Myself as the owner, staff, and company, including online presence. Absolutely. And I think the first step is really just identifying and understanding where your challenge is. And another thing, Norma, I think Luanda's talking about rebranding and doing all of those things. It's also important to remember that if you don't feel like you can manage to keep all of the social media platforms going and looking fresh and whatever, choose one, rather have the depth and the ones that you can take care of. And then as you grow, you can maybe then expand and see where else you can have a presence. And yeah, thank you very much to Desigan and everybody else for all of the other comments. Please do visit our YouTube page. If you have somebody who you think may need to see this session, it's already up. just go and grab the link and you can just share it via WhatsApp, put it up on any of your own social media platforms, and just make sure that whoever needs to hear this message, it's a quick one, it's to the point, please do share, and please do go to that March session as well so that you can find all of those tools around understanding your customer. Next month, we are talking leadership in the new normal with Dr. McLean Sibanda. He is the author of Nuts and Bolts, and we are going to be looking at strategy. We're going to be looking at pivoting, innovating, especially in a time of crisis. Again, I think some of the conversation that we have had today around branding and positioning, what happens when you've got to pivot? What happens when you've got to be a completely different company or organization? Because that's just where we are right now, right? So please do make sure that you register. The tickets are already up. It's completely free. Starting from next week, we'll start communicating how you can get your hands on a free copy of the book. We are running a competition. So go and register and make sure that you subscribe to our newsletter and to our social media platforms so that you can see how to get yourself a copy before we have Dr. Sibanda on the call. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Thank you, Noma. It's been great. Keep it real, keep it to the point, and we'll see you guys again next time.